Jared Kushner, senior advisor to the president, national security advisor Robert O'Brien, landing in Abu Dhabi, traveling from Israel. That makes it an historic flight. The first commercial Israeli flight to an Arab Gulf country. Here's what Kushner had to say about it. Roll tape.
We are about to board a historic flight, the first commercial flight in history between Israel to a Gulf Arab country. While this is a historic flight, we hope that this will start an even more historic journey for the Middle East and beyond.
Well, an historic flight for sure. Let's bring in Morgan Ortagus, spokesperson for the State Department. One thing that surprises me here, Morgan, is you're getting virtually no publicity for this. I can see how it's a breakthrough, not just the flight, but the peace deal. Yeah. No publicity. Why not?
I guess probably because it's election season, but we should. You're right, Stuart. And first of all, thanks for having me on again. That is El Al Flight 971 that went from Israel to Abu Dhabi. Also, notably, flew over Saudi Arabia as well. So I believe that's the first time an El Al flight, an Israeli flight, has flown over Saudi Arabia. It was actually just last week that Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, and I were in the Middle East as well, and we were able to fly on the first official nonstop flight from Israel to Sudan to Khartoum. So it's certainly been several historic weeks. We had the first recognition of Israel between an Arab state and Israel in 25 years, between UAE and Israel. So this just shows that Ronald Reagan was right. Peace through strength is what works.
Where do you want to take it? How do you build on this deal between Israel and the UAE? What more can you get beyond it?
Well, I think it's incredibly important. You know, one of the most beautiful things that I saw of all the pictures last night and I saw on social media were some young Emirati children that were holding, they had an Emirati flag behind them and they were holding an Israeli flag, and I believe there was a United States flag there too. And I think it's fundamentally important to know that Israeli children and Emirati children are going to grow up in a world where they're allowed to interact with each other, where they're allowed to go to each other's countries. So that's incredibly positive. We also hope, of course, that more states in the Middle East will follow. And we think this is a direct result not only of President Trump's vision for peace, but of the fact that we have empowered our Gulf Arab allies against a nefarious regime in Tehran, which is the world's largest state sponsor of terror. The previous administration, the Obama administration, chose to give our enemies billions of dollars. This administration has chosen to strangle them financially, has chosen to take out the head of their terror network, Qasem Soleimani, and we have chosen to embolden Israel, to embolden the Gulf Arab states, and now we're seeing peace through strength and not by abdicating to our enemies.
Morgan Ortagus, thanks very much for joining us on a very busy Monday morning. We do appreciate you being here.